How good is Manchester United target Eduardo Camavinga? In this video I will analyse Camavinga's on the ball and defensive qualities, showing clips of him in action throughout the video, if they don't get copyrighted, and at the end I'll suggest 3 alternative players for Manchester United to sign if they cannot land Camavinga. For cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfever.com, a link will be left in the description, and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL for 5% off. So Camavinga is 18 now, but burst onto the scene for Rennes at the age of just 16 in April 2019, making his debut against Angers. Since then he's made his France debut at the age of just 17, becoming France's youngest ever player in September 2020 against Croatia. Camavinga's contract at Rennes expires next summer, meaning that he should be available this summer for a significantly reduced fee, and reportedly Rennes will be willing to accept a fee in the region of 35 million euros, which is around £30 million, a fee that on paper looks like an absolute bargain, but is it? For Rennes, Camavinga is usually deployed in a midfield 3 of a 4-1-4-1 as one of the 2 central midfielders ahead of the deeper single pivot Steven Nzonzi. Camavinga's role in the side is very fluid. He's given the freedom to push further forward with Nzonzi behind him, but he can also drop deep alongside the former Sevilla man, creating more of a double pivot in the deeper midfield position. The problem for United at the moment is that when Fred and McTominay play in the midfield too, United lack creativity in terms of being able to work the ball from these deeper positions into the likes of Fernandes and Rashford in more advanced positions, and this is because generally Fred and McTominay are either too slow to see a passing lane opening for an incisive pass, or prefer to play a simpler sideways pass in order to retain possession. Now this is fine 90% of the time, as fluid ball circulation is needed to shift the opposition's defensive shape and open up spaces, but you do need a player who can potentially be the source of a chance being created for a more riskier forward pass. This is something that Camavinga can definitely do. We see here that he receives the ball in the middle third with the whole opposition defensive shape behind him. Now what a player like Fred and McTominay may do here is look to play a sideways or backwards pass to continue the circulation of possession. However, what Camavinga does is far more valuable. First of all, his first touch moves the ball out in front of him, allowing him then to use the momentum from moving forward to glide past the first opposition presser. Once he has passed him, then he's able to see his teammate in behind the opposition's midfield and plays the pass in there, which allows his side to go from having the ball in the middle third to having the ball in behind the opposition's midfield in the final third, taking a few opposition players out of the game in the process. As well as incisive passes played between the lines like these, Camavinga also has the passing range to play long passes either out to the flanks or over the top of the back line to find a penetrating run. This passing range would allow United to transition the attack almost instantly into the final third or into the box, and is a skill that United have lacked in that deeper midfield position since Paul Scholes' retirement in 2013. Like Scholes, Camavinga also offers chance creating ability when allowed to push further forward. As I said before, in Rennes midfield, Camavinga is allowed to vacate that deeper midfield position and push further forward, making runs ahead of the ball, which offers his side penetration in behind the opposition's back line. Here Camavinga receives the ball and can see the run being made from the right winger and plays a perfect curling through ball to release him. So Camavinga is clearly an excellent deep line creator. However, if United are to bring in a central midfielder, they need to bring in one with defensive and command-like qualities so that Solskjaer can use Pogba in that midfield double pivot, creating a similar balance to the one Pogba had with N'Golo Kante in the French World Cup 2018 winning central midfield. Now in my opinion, Camavinga does indeed fulfill these requirements, as he's a very good defensive midfielder. His tackling is superb, up there with the likes of Idrissa Gueye and Aurelien Tchouameni in Ligue 1. We can see this ability in 2 different scenarios. The first shows why Camavinga is well suited to an aggressive pressing system. The pass is played into the deeper lying Marseille central midfielder. Now Camavinga could hold his position in the midfield line, however this would give the opposition player the space to turn out and progress the attack forward. Instead, Camavinga anticipates the pass from the centre back to the central midfielder, steps up from the midfield line and is ready to not only apply pressure to the player but also put in a well-timed sliding tackle, which allows Rennes to not only stop Marseille progressing the ball into their half, but now they have the ball in Marseille's defensive third ready to counter, so this pressing ability can be a weapon as well as a defence. In this other scenario, there is a turnover from a Rennes corner and the opposition are trying to counter quickly. Camavinga has the awareness to see where the danger is likely to come from and use his athleticism to race over and put in a fantastic sliding tackle to halt the attack, which is something that the likes of Kante and Ndidi are so good at doing for their sides. This shows the defensive value that Camavinga can add to the United midfield. Camavinga can sit behind the ball during the attack and has the necessary defensive attributes to be the sweeper that moves across a pitch to break up opposition counterattacks in the same way that Fernandinho does for Manchester City and Fabinho does for Liverpool. So from my analysis so far, you can probably tell that I'm a massive fan of Camavinga. I think he's an all-round central midfielder, excelling at both breaking up attacks and winning the ball high up the pitch, and creating from deep with incisive passes in between the lines, dribbles to progress the ball forward, and long passes to move the attack into the final third. With his contract situation as well, he seems like the perfect signing for United, bringing in a player who's an upgrade on Fred and McTominay in the short term, and also a player who has the potential to be one of the best central midfielders in the world, and all for the very reasonable fee of around £30 million. Before I go any further, I will be starting a weekly newsletter for £1 a week, but we'll be doing the first 2 weeks free, so if you want to sign up for the 2-week free trial, send an email to www.atlantisfootballweekly@gmail.com. I'll be aiming to send it out to you towards the end of the week, and I'll be discussing the topics in the news that I'm not able to make a video on, as well as Q&As and potentially some guest posts as well. I will leave that email in the description below. But if United do want the youngster's signature, they have to move fast, as PSG are also rumoured to be interested in the starlet's services. However, if United were to miss out on Camavinga, as their transfer history would suggest they would, what other options are there? Well, I've picked 3 alternatives, one that is just as good as Camavinga and would command the same sort of fee, one that is slightly cheaper but has the same potential as Camavinga, and one that can be considered a cheaper alternative, not on the same level as Camavinga, but would be a very good stopgap alternative if United were struggling for options towards the end of the window. Some of these may have already moved clubs by the time you watch this, however. The first is Manuel Locatelli, who in the last month or so has really come onto people's radar. He is a player who is just as good as Camavinga, if not better at the moment. He is a very good forward and incisive passer, which is what United need, as seen as this season he completed the second most passes into the final third of any player in Europe's top 5 leagues with 289, behind only Barcelona's Sergio Busquets with 293. He also has the ball winning ability needed to play as the most defensive minded midfielder in a deep double pivot, alongside a more creative player like Pogba, so he could easily be brought in to fill that role, and similar to Camavinga, he's still young at just 23 and would likely only cost around £30 to £35 million. Another alternative would be Ibrahim Sangare of PSV, who is also 23 years old and would cost around £25 million after being signed last summer by PSV from Toulouse for around £6 million, and like both Locatelli and Camavinga, he's an all-round central midfielder. Not as good as the other two in terms of his incisive passing ability, but he is a better defensive-minded midfielder than those two in my opinion, so if Solskjaer wanted a player who's more similar to Ndidi or Kante than Camavinga is, but still with that on-the-ball creativity and ability to progress the play, then Sangare would be a great option. My final option is an unusual one that will probably leave you scratching your head, but before I get into that, remember to subscribe to the channel after the video and check out some of my other videos linked in the description below, like my analysis of how good Rafael Varane actually is, Van der Beek's problem at Manchester United, and who I would sign for Arsenal this summer. So my final alternative pick is Mario Lemina, who at the time of writing is still at Southampton, with just 1 year left on his current contract, and could probably be picked up for around £10 million, or even a season-long loan depending on how long into the window he stays at Southampton. Now, Lemina isn't at the same level as the other 3 players I've talked about, but he does have the ball winning qualities in terms of stopping opposition attacks and winning the ball back high up the pitch that United would need from any potential signing. He is a lot more limited in terms of his passing, but he's a very good explosive dribbler, able to drive the attack forward from the centre of the pitch, which is definitely a unique attribute that would improve United's ability to break down deep defensive units. He would be a last resort, however, but United should still keep tabs on him. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, send me an email if you want to sign up for that newsletter, check out some of my other videos linked in the description below, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more content as well.